Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Al-Quran, the Jews, the Quran spares. We are still reading from Surah Al-Ahzab, and in this session we'll begin with verse 50, and it addresses the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his marriages, whom he could have got married to. And let's read, inshallah, and comment and see what does that mean in the Islamic worldview. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها النبي إنا أحللنا لك أزواجك اللاتي آتيت أجورهن وما ملكت يمينك مما أفاء الله عليك وبنات عمك وبنات عماتك وبنات خالاتك اللاتي هاجرن معك وامرأة مؤمنة إن وهبت نفسها للنبي إن أراد النبي أن يستنكحها خالصة لك من دون المؤمنين قد علمنا ما فرضنا عليهم في أزواجهم وما ملكت أيمانهم لكي لا يكون عليك حرج وكان الله غفورا رحيما. O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have made lawful for you your wives to whom you have paid their full dowries, as well as those bondwomen in your possession whom Allah has granted you. And here we of course let's read first, but the idea here is that there are two women whom the Prophet ﷺ set free, Safiya bint Huyay and Juwairiya bint al-Harith. And then he married them, and we have Maria the Copt, whom was gifted by Al-Muqawqis, the king of Egypt, who gave birth to Ibrahim, son of the Prophet ﷺ, who all his sons died very early. And she is Walad, mother of a child who, in Islamic jurisprudence, this child would set her free. Every time we mention this issue, I make sure to I hope that I will always remember to mention that there are so many ways to set those slaves, both male and female, free. And sometimes it's part of penance. So systematically, it's something that existed before Islam and existed around the region, and there were so many measures that were taken to get rid of this phenomenon. And you are allowed to marry the daughters of your paternal uncles and aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncles and aunts. And by the way, here we have in the text of the Qur'an, the uncles are mentioned in the singular and the aunts are mentioned in the plural. Ammik versus ammatik. It's not amam وبنات amamik. Same thing about al-khal, the paternal uncle. وبنات خالك, rather بنات أخوالك, and the plural for the maternal aunts who have immigrated like you, اللاتي هاجرن معك. Also allowed for marriage is a believing woman who offers herself to the Prophet ﷺ without dowry. if he is interested in marrying her, this is exclusively for you, not for the rest of the believers. خالصا لك من دون المؤمنين. But the Prophet ﷺ did not really take advantage of this ruling. As for the rest of the Muslims, they have to pay the dowry to their wives when they get married. And probably we'll mention, inshallah, some of the cases of these women who offered themselves to the Prophet in marriage, but he declined. We know well what rulings we have ordained for the believers in relation to their wives and those women in their possession. As such, there would be no blame on you, and Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. The dowry that the Prophet ﷺ gave to his wives, اللاتي آتيت أجورهن, he used to give 500 dirham, so that's a little bit more than 12. I'm not going to use a weight in English that will not be the exact. And originally, the word used here, uqiyya, just a little bit more than that, except for Habiba, the daughter of Abu Sufyan. She received 400 dinars that the Negus, the Najashi, gave to her on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ. What I have in mind about the uqiyya is the British ounce, and that's around a little bit more than 28 grams. As for mentioning his potentially, it did take place, but not many times. His cousins, here it is mentioned, the daughters of your paternal uncles and aunts and the daughters of your maternal uncles and aunts. We know that in the Catholic and Orthodox churches, at least historically, but it could still be the case, without having a direct prohibition on marrying a first cousin in the Bible. So there is some kind of a general prohibition of marriage between first cousins, though dispensations can be granted, and those who introduce genetics or the DNA into the argument, this was not the case in the past. This is of course a contemporary thing, but it doesn't. If whether it increases the risk or not, you know that even if you don't marry a cousin, there might still be a risk. So this is something that is introduced later on, even amongst Muslims. So for the Catholic and Orthodox churches, there's that general prohibition of marrying cousins. In Islam, it is permitted. It's not that, there is you would stress probably spirituality, religiosity, but I have to introduce something after I mention the Jewish position. Amongst the Jews, they they do marry uh, their nieces. So for example, I knew someone personally a Jew who married the the daughter of his sister. So he is at once her husband and he is her maternal uncle. So from an Islamic perspective, our scholars would say that the Islamic position is uh, halfway. It's like a middle path between these positions. So on the one hand, there's a prohibition amongst Catholics and Orthodox, and there is permission to marry nieces in Judaism. And Islam prohibits marrying nieces. So so here we have that kind of an in between position: those who prohibit and those who allow uh, marrying the daughter of the brother or the sister. So you are the uncle and the husband in Judaism. And it does say as a qualification those who migrated with the Prophet ﷺ. And then we have the those women who offered themselves to the Prophet ﷺ. And وهبت نفسها, it means without a dowry, but of course it did not take place. We have several traditions about one woman who offered herself to the Prophet ﷺ, and it's a hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad. Uh, Sahel bin Sa'd al-Sa'idi said that the Prophet ﷺ, uh, that a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she told him, "O Messenger of God, I'm offering myself to you." And she stood there for a while, uh, for quite a while. Then a man from amongst the companions said, "O Messenger of God, I would marry her off to me. I would marry her if you are not going to marry her, if you don't uh, if you are not having any need." And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, "Do you have anything to offer her in dowry?" The man said, "I have nothing except my this would be the outer garment, izar." Uh, the Prophet ﷺ responded by saying, "If you give her your izar, then you'd sit without one. Find something." He could not find anything. The Prophet ﷺ told him, "Just find, even if it's a ring made out of iron, so that would be like the cheapest thing." He still could not find anything. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, "Do you memorize anything of the Quran?" And he said yes, and he mentioned Surat Kada or Surat Kada. So he named a couple of, so the names of chapters that he memorized. The Prophet ﷺ told him, "I will marry her off to you with what you have what you have memorized of the Quran." And just in case if you think that this was then and not today, it is still happening. A couple of weeks ago, it was uh, a Friday, uh, evening. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked to by a friend of mine to just simply to on behalf of his son to ask for the hand of a woman, and I did. and something that they wanted to keep private. Uh, it could be for the barakah, for the blessing, but her dowry was that he would memorize Surah An-Nisa, and that's a smart thing. So it's beautiful. Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4 in the Quran, uh, named after woman, An-Nisa, and probably I don't know, but maybe her intention was to teach her future husband the rulings in Islam, about marriage, about inheritance. About there are so many things that one can talk about in that surah, uh, which begins really by asking people to humanity, people to remember to be God conscientious, that God created them from a single uh, nafs, soul. So the idea is he is not the first one who would. So it took place in the past amongst the companions, and it is still taking place. It's not that that it's not because in the case of this companion he could not find anything. In the case uh, the son of my friend, it's not for lacking the material wealth, but there is something spiritual here in the picture. Solana said that the name of this woman is Khawla bint Hakim. Um, Regardless, it's a woman who offered herself, but the Prophet ﷺ, did not. You can see she stood there for quite some time, uh, and the Prophet ﷺ did not say anything negative. He did not say, "I don't want you." He did not say, "I don't accept your offer." Uh, and that other companion, subhanallah, provided a way out. The verse, of course, after this phrase about the believing woman who would offer herself to the Prophet ﷺ if he wanted to, and that would be only special, exclusive for the Prophet ﷺ, not for the rest of the believers. We know well what rulings we have ordained for the believers in relation to their wives and those bondwomen in their possession. As such, there would be no blame on you, and Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. It should be known that both consummating marriage and death, even before consummating marriage, in both cases, a woman is entitled to the full dowry, even if there's any part of the dowry that is postponed until later on. She's entitled to take that from his inheritance. That's not her inheritance. That's basically taking her right. The next verse: ترجي من تشاء منهن وتؤوي إليك من تشاء ومن ابتغيت ممن عزلت فلا جناح عليك ذلك أدنى أن تقر أعينهن ولا يحزن ويرضين بما آتيتهن كلهن والله يعلم ما في قلوبكم وكان الله عليما حليما. It is up to you, still addressing the Prophet ﷺ, to delay or receive whoever you please of your wives. There is no blame on you if you call back any of those you have set aside, that is more likely that they will be content, not grieved, and satisfied with what you offer them all. Allah knows, Allah fully knows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is omniscient. What's in your hearts, and Allah is all knowing, most forbearing. So, the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ, I spoke about not all the marriages, of course, but I highlighted that the Prophet ﷺ was married only to Lady Khadija, al-Mu'minin, radiallahu anha. So that lasted for 25 years, so age 25 until he became 50, and he remained for a couple of years without marriage after her death. She was, and I did mention this before, she was a widow with children. When he became 53, now we talk about migrating to Medina. It's during this stage that he married many wives. So the total will be 10. Many of these marriages were to widows who had been left with their children without a provider. So think about the first wife with whom he was 25 when she was almost 40. She was a widow with children. Not the typical behavior of a man who's 25 years old. It shows his care, responsibility. Not many men would marry a woman with children, especially when she's about 40. And the first woman that he married after this period, so when he was 53, an elderly woman, al-Mu'minin, Sauda, radiallahu anha, she was old enough that even ultimately they stopped having intimate relationship between them. We know all these details about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one can understand that some of these marriages were to foster stronger ties with his companions, with neighboring tribes. Of all of these wives, only Lady Aisha was not married before and was young. We know that, just as an example about fostering a relationship with his companions, we know that Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anhu, a key figure in the history of Islam, literally, he became the second caliph, leader of the faithful, after the death of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the first caliph. He literally went around. We are so today we are so sensitive about the issue of marriage, but they were not. So Umar ibn Khattab went around asking men he was offering his daughter Hafsa in marriage. And the Prophet ﷺ noticed this. It seemed that it was an awkward moment for Umar ibn Khattab when his own uh, brothers, when his own brothers in faith, the other companions, did not want to get married to Hafsa. And the Prophet ﷺ, uh, he married her, and he basically, obviously, uh, Hafsa was a widow. We have just mentioned this, that many who have been left with, without. It's not about having a provider. So Umar ibn Khattab, amongst those whom he asked, uh, he offered his daughter to them. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, Uthman bin Affan, radiallahu anhu, who rejected. He did not want to. And Umar Khattab, he complained to the Prophet ﷺ about this. So this is the background for the marriage of one of them. So Sauda was an elderly uh, woman. Hafsa was obviously. So the Prophet ﷺ did not go and seek to marry Hafsa. He just simply, the Prophet ﷺ noticed as Umar Khattab complained about these prominent companions did not want to marry Hafsa. As for there's this ترجي من تشاء منهم وتؤوي إليك من تشاء. There is, for the rest of the believers, you would divide the time between them. For example, anything that could be measured has to be on equal footing. Anything that could be measured time-wise, the money that he gives to each one of them, anything that could be measured, it has to be on equal footing. But as for the Prophet ﷺ, this verse indicates that the ترجم من تشاء منهن, from amongst his wives, that it's okay if he leaves the division. Okay, so the division of time was not obligatory for the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ used to ask, I would say, out of politeness, he would ask for, like, with Lady Aisha anha, for example, from the hadith. This is hadith in Bukhari. She said that the Prophet ﷺ used to ask during the day, one of the of his wives, after this verse was revealed, asked for permission, and she was asked what you used to say, and she said, I used to say, if this is up to me, I would not give up. I would not prefer someone else, one of the other wives. فإني لا أريد رسول الله أن أؤثر عليك أحدا. At any rate, again, there's another hadith of Aisha that the Prophet ﷺ used to divide between his wives, and he would be just, and he would, that's in terms of that which could be measured, and he would say Oh my Lord, this is what I have, uh, this is my action and what I have control of, that which could be divided. Uh, do not hold me responsible for that. You uh, you have control of, and I don't. Meaning his heart, meaning that the uh, in terms of whom he loves or he loves more, or you cannot basically divide love equally. We'll continue, inshallah, reading from the surah in the next session, where the next surah talks about the limitation on the Prophet's marriages, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Until the next session, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.